But then what really makes him excited are his lentils, which also are something you only want to do 1 to 2 times a week. So not a staple. So put a few of those on there. So if you guys here, we'll get close and we'll see if you can hear him eating his lentils when he gets to them. Hey guys, it's Stephanie at Tye-Dyed Iguana. Today I'm going to show you guys a new pet. It's Stella's pet. This is Raja. So Stella has been wanting an Egyptian Uromastyx for a while now, and so we let her get one. We've had this guy, I would say, maybe about a month now, but we wanted him to acclimate before we showed him off. So this is Raja. Raja is an Egyptian Uromastyx. He is a baby still. So the crazy thing with the Egyptian Uromastyx, when they hatch out at about 4 inches. And when they are full grown, which takes up to 4 years for them to get full grown, he'll get about 36 inches. So he's still very young. I would say he's less than a year old. I would say probably this summer. Well, he's probably right about a year, because typically your Egyptian Uromastyx will lay eggs in the September-October time frame, and they're typically about 30 days in an egg before they hatch. So he's probably right about a year old, I would say right now. So these guys, they come from Egypt. They do come from parts of the Middle East also, so that whole area. So Raja is, like I said, he's Stella's pet. He absolutely loves to dig, just like they do in the wild. They dig down into burrows. He likes to kick his sand everywhere. As you can see on top of his hide, he makes a huge mess. The nice thing with these guys, as you can see in his enclosure, is they don't need a water bowl. So they get all of their water from their greens. So their diet consists of basically your dark leafy greens, which he absolutely loves to eat his dark leafy greens, as you'll see when he sees his bowl here. The nice thing with them is also their treats, they like to have, which you only want to do maybe like 1 to 2 times a week, is some millet. So we have some millet here, but we'll give him a couple little pieces of millet on here. But then what really makes him excited are his lentils, which also are something you only want to do 1 to 2 times a week. So not a staple. So put a few of those on there. Just going back to a little bit about the Egyptian Uromastyx. So Raja can live up to about 30 years. So he's got a little ways to go, which is nice. So if you guys here, we'll get close and we'll see if you can hear him eating his lentils when he gets to them. He will pick all of his lentils out before he starts eating his greens typically. Also on top of their greens, we like to sprinkle calcium. But before we sprinkle the calcium, it's really important to just give them like a little bit of a light mist. So if you can see, the greens are actually kind of wet. That's where they get all of their moisture in captivity. So in the wild, a really cool fact about them is, so if you look at the top of his head, it kind of looks like there's like this little indent. It's like a cup there. So in the wild, what happens is the morning dew will pool up in that little like divot there, and then they will tip their face forward, and that little bit of dew will drip down, and it goes and drips into their mouth, and that's the only moisture that they basically get besides what they eat in their vegetation. But that's a super cool fun fact about the Uromastyx in general. Another cool thing, so if you can see the way he's laying right now, is how his skin is all wrinkled like this. So another fun fact with them is, so their skin is wrinkly, but during the day, these guys, their tank will be about 120 degrees. They will actually expand their body to fill that skin out as they heat up, so that way in the nighttime, like in the nature, when it drops down, since they're in the desert, sometimes it can get below freezing. Typically we don't like to go that low in captivity, but since they've expanded their body out, it helps hold the heat in longer for them to stay warmer and to weather through the below freezing temperatures, which is why the Uromastyx has the wrinkles on their skin. And the darker color helps them absorb that heat a lot faster to heat their body. That's typically why they are this darker color. So another cool thing with them, so their body is like super soft, like smooth as could be, and then you get to their tail, which is very spiny. As you can see here, it's sharp. This is their defense mechanism, so basically they use it as a club to fend off any predators. In the wild, a lot of times they'll dig down into their burrows and they'll just leave part of their tail sticking out, and it scares predators away because they see those spikes and it freaks them out with that. So talking of their tail, these guys do not lose their tail. Their tail does not fall off. So other species, like a leopard gecko or crested gecko, these guys do not detach their tail. It stays there with them. If it gets grabbed, then the whole animal gets grabbed. So whenever you guys are setting up their tank, so baby, basically a 50-gallon tank, which is what we have here, and then when they are full grown, you know, at that 36 inches, you will typically want something that's about a 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot enclosure. So typically with, you know, your larger lizards like that, you want to go with their length that's twice the length of their body. So that's why it's important to obviously know what you're getting into and what type of Uromastyx you're getting into, because this is one of the largest species of Uromastyx. As you can see, Raja is devouring all of his lentils that he has in here. As I was talking about how they like to eat the dark leafy greens, which should be their staple, always avoid your lettuce just because it doesn't have any nutrition in there for them. The other big one that a lot of people don't realize is spinach. You know, it's a dark leafy green, but with a Uromastyx, if they actually eat spinach, it can actually cause some bladder stones. So we don't want to do spinach with Uromastyx at all, not even as like a treat. So avoid spinach at all costs. Do your turnip greens, your collard greens, mustard greens, kale. He absolutely loves dandelion greens. The big thing is always giving them a variety, because all of the greens do have different vitamins and nutrients. So in captivity, we just want to make sure we vary it up and not just feed them one type of green at all times. The other thing with them is, obviously, since they have no water bowl, it is important that you do give them a shallow, like, bath, like shallow water, like once a month. We just recommend putting like a little bit of electrolyte soak in there. Let him soak in there for about 15 minutes, and then you would take him out, and that would be it. So that's just enough moisture. If you do it too much, you'll start developing respiratory infections, and obviously we don't want to go that route. Okay, so for temperature on these guys, so the important thing with reptiles, whenever we talk about like a basking spot, typically a basking spot, we just need about a $1/2 size like spot. And so for these guys, about 120 to 125 degrees is what we want where he can bask. For his warm side of his tank, ideally about 100 degrees is what we need over here. And then as we get to the cool side, we can get down to about 80 to 85 degrees. And then at night, if you're getting anything below, I would say 65 degrees, it's important to add a nighttime heat. But these guys do need that natural temperature drop to happen. So even if you're hitting that 65, I would not add a nighttime heat, because in the wild, like I had said, they can drop down to below freezing temperatures and they, you know, manage just fine. These guys are a diurnal species, so they do need a UVB bulb. So here we have a Zoomed Power Sun all-in-one bulb, and then we do have an additional heat source just so we can get to our 120 degrees in his tank. But they do need that UVB, being a diurnal species, to help them digest and process all their calcium and make sure they have strong bones. With the Uromastyx, since they do come from the desert, typically a sand substrate is your best option, just because they do love to dig so much. And by sand, I mean crushed walnut. We actually don't use sand around here, but obviously in nature, in the wild, it is a sand substrate. But we have found that the crushed walnut is a better substrate in captivity for these guys. So typically with Raja, if you can see over here, this is the hide he loves to sleep in on his cool side of his enclosure. But if you look down in there, he basically has it all dug out right now. But at night, what he does is he digs, he climbs in there, and then he'll fill in the bedding, and he closes off his hide so you can't even see him. So it's important to give him as much as you can as his natural environment, and want to make sure they can actually like feel closed in and be able to cover themselves. So the Egyptian Uromastyx, if you look at Raja's enclosure here, is they actually do like to climb in the wild. They're not like the most agile when it comes to climbing, so you want to make sure their structures are like very safe and not going to fall over. But in Egypt, they do climb like the rocks and like rock formations that they have out there. So you definitely want to make sure you give them the climbing ability. As you can see, this is where he loves to climb up there. He likes to hang out there and spend his day. All right, with the Uromastyx, and actually a lot of lizard species, but the Uromastyx in particular, and Raja gets this like every single day, is they get like this white buildup around their nostrils, which all it is just excess salt. So basically they just kind of like sneeze, but you really don't even see them sneeze. All you have to do though when it happens is just rub their nose and it'll come right off. It crumbles right off, like as if it's salt. It's actually really cool. So those of you guys that do summer camp though, you might eventually get to see Raja come out at summer camp or one of our educational programs, just to make sure he gets enough handling as he's gonna grow and get bigger. But these guys are a very docile, friendly, easy starter pet, just because they do eat vegetation. I hope you guys enjoyed Raja's video today. I was excited to show off our new pet. If you guys have any questions about the Egyptian Uromastyx, just give us a call, send us a message on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, any of them. Or you can send us an email and we will answer all your questions.